Our first session will trace back the ride that CTV has been on in the last few years. The past year especially has been significant for CTV's growth owing to the surge in streaming and the decline of traditional TV viewership. With this session, we aim to assess the impact of CTV's rise on traditional TV networks and how it has changed advertisers' budget allocation in recent times. I would like to invite our panelists for this session. Please welcome Anil Suryavamshi, Associate Vice President, Digital Planning at Carat India. Suman Pal, Head of Media Analytics and Partnerships at Wipro Consumer Care and Lighting. Dr. Ashish Bajaj, Chief Marketing Officer at Narayana Health. Meeta Gupta, Lead Associate Account Director, The Trade Desk. Arvind Sainath, Head of Marketing Effectiveness and Media Digital Planning at Diageo India. And our moderator for this session, Shrutapa Paul, founder at Dharma Media Consultants. Shrutapa, over to you.
Thank you so much. Congrats, Rahul and team. Without further ado, let's dive deep into the topic at hand today. The past year has been phenomenal for connected TV. There is a surge in streaming, and there is a decline in traditional TV viewership. I mean, that is what industry estimates see. CTV penetration has grown to about 30 million in 2023 as per reports, and will double by 2025. That's a massive growth that we are seeing. As consumers get more comfortable consuming content through CTV, through live streaming, especially led by sports events like IPL and the Football World Cup, we know that this is a massive opportunity for advertisers as well. Our esteemed speakers come from various sectors, and they have deep insights and are also deeply invested in the CTV journey. So my first question to all our speakers, what do you feel are the key drivers that have led to the significant growth of CTV advertising over the, currently, and where do you see it going in the next 5 years? And what are the factors contributing to its success in the face of global financial crisis and uncertainties? Yeah, sure, please start.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the question. So, as you rightly said, decline in the linear TV is one of the reasons. And also the sports events is like, last year, as you said, we have got 30 million viewers only on connected TV. I was just talking to Jio team some time ago. They have reported 30 million unique connected TV till now. So only on Jio it is that. So imagine probably they are estimating around 40 million to it will reach around 40 million by end of the IPL. Sporting events like an IPL World Cup is kind of contributing more. And we have seen around 50% of the connected TV owners like to watch the content in the connected TV itself. That's another, the habit building is happening. So, and it is like a tease, right? So it's not just we have to wait for a certain program to come. So the connected TV, OTT can be streamed there. So ease of usage of connected TV is another thing which is driving it. So the multiple factors which are giving a reason to raise the connected TV. I'm sure it will continue to do so. It will double by end of the year. That's what the estimation is right now.
Sure, Suman, your views on this?
Sure. Thanks, Shrutapa. So I think before even looking into the trends of connected TV, I think also the entire discussion is connected TV has grown and linear TV has stepped back. I think the major challenge here is the way the TV viewership or TV viewing habits have changed over the years. And that's primarily, when CTV came in, and primarily the younger demographics, while in India under 35 years, mainly 22, 35-year-old who are primarily cord cutter and cord shavers, and they are moving away from the traditional TV because obviously they want to watch the content which they like and at their timing, because they have a busy lifestyle, unlike 30 years back or 20 years back, when you have a set prime time band there, right? So that is one. I think that is a content and the flexibility of watching whenever you want is main driving force. While the overall viewing habits or the CTV penetration is still lying majorly in the metro and tier 1 towns, and but with the data and the smart TV becoming cheaper, and primarily because of Xiaomi and other devices, so I am sure that it will go to in tier 2, tier 3 towns as well. The second thing I think, which is in the next couple of years or next 3-4 years, what I am looking at primarily, one is the measurement and attribution. So which is very well settled in the mobile device space right now, because even the advertisers and publishers are broadly aware of that. Now in the CTV space, that needs to be strengthened out. That is something that I'm expecting it's going to be in the next 3-4 years. And the third thing is the content diversification. So right now, what is available on mobile or in the OTT, for example, Z5 or the Jio or Hotstar, whatever the content that is available, which can be seen on mobile as well as on TV, the CTV viewers are watching that. So there could be a possibility in the next 3-4 years when content will be created specifically for keeping in mind the CTV audience. Like he was rightly mentioning that the numbers is going to be 40-45 million at the end of 2024. If that happens, then probably the publisher need to think beyond creating one content for across devices. So that could be the growth.
Your views, Dr. Ashish?
So for the sake of argument, I think linear TV not going down, it's just about how it is being reported. Yeah. So it's going to be there. Till the time I think I was part of one of the things which one of the biggest DTH provider was trying to do was to put the recording meters into their DTHs, and it didn't flew off, but they were having 400 plus million active DTHs. But coming back to the question, I think it's the ecosystem change. With the being smart TV accessible, hassle of getting the DTHs installed at our houses, and a great internet speed. I think that's why it's all changing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think some of the estimates that we find, at least in news reports, is that almost 90% of the television sold last year was smart TV. So obviously that is a driving factor, but you're right. I mean, DTH can't, I mean, a majority of our population is still very much consuming content through DTH as well.
Just to add, I don't think so. I have any more DTHs in my house, both in Delhi and Bangalore. Gone. It's too much of hassle to handle.
Yeah. So I think it's also the audience segment, the consumer segment that we're looking at, who are more comfortable with CTV. Meeta, coming to you, as you give your perspective, I'd also like to throw in a little bit so that, because I think the three gents have already covered a bit of the first topic. So as you talk about the factors which are leading to the success of CTV, can you also tell us what impact has it had on media planning and audience reach, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So if we really get into what role a connected TV today plays in the media ecosystem, and rightfully, like my fellow panelists kind of highlighted, let's first have a look at what media habits are changing around us and how it is changing. And I would just like to highlight two things over here. First being the audience. So today a user is spoiled for choices. They are accessing the digital content across multiple screens, multiple channels, and CTV is primarily the fastest growing channel there. And the second piece is about the content. So when we talk about content, our open internet research shows that today a user consider quality over variety. So when they look at UGC, they associate UGC with variety. But when they're consuming connected TV, it's the new TV for them, because it is offering you the same broadcasted premium content, which earlier, it was only available on linear. So for brands, it's adding more credibility to their media bucks. When we look at this report, it also suggests that brands who have been advertising more on OTT and CTV, primarily, they are perceived to be 33%, higher in terms of premiumness when they compare to UGC. So connected TV as a medium, more and more marketers are now leveraging it. And not just for building the upper funnel, because there's so many data signals which are now available in connected TV. which if we compare with linear, it has not been there, adding more signals beyond the demographic targeting that you can do in connected TV. Having said that, there are still, like those questions that keep coming up from a lot of marketers, which says that, hey, it's good, but how do I avoid that overlap? You're buying your OTTs and CTV, but in silos. But yes, I think the time has come where we break the silos, we build in more omni-channel adoption of connected TV within the overall media ecosystem. I think that's where everybody is aiming. And just to give you all an example, like we very recently published a case study with PepsiCo for the Slice brand, where they leveraged us to reach out to cord cutters. And what they beautifully did, like they were leveraging our cross-device targeting. So you are eventually striking a balance between your frequency and reach, and getting more unique audiences in your media mix. So I think these are the data signals which a lot of advertisers have now started to incorporate, and it will continue to grow as we take this journey of digital advertising.
Very, very interesting, Arvind. As you give your perspectives as well, I mean, do also add on what should advertisers and marketers keep in mind when you're allocating budgets, taking off from what Meeta just said.
Sure, yeah. So I think, before I get to the specific question that Shrutapa asked, one of the things I want to tell is, and I have a 5-year-old daughter, okay, and she is so seamless in using any mobile phone that you give her. She can go through Instagram, she can go through YouTube. She's a 5-year-old, by the way. The reason I've locked off my CTV for her is because if she starts seeing YouTube there, I don't know what she'll end up with. So I've locked CTV for her. She doesn't know that she can operate YouTube on the TV. The point that I'm trying to make is this, right? I think a couple of panelists said, the explosion of Xiaomi and the accessible TVs that have come. And the younger generation, right? They are not loath to use, they are the digital generation. They can pick up any digital device. And by the way, the hack that my daughter has found is she uses Google Nest. She goes to Google Nest and says, hey Google, play the YouTube video, and it plays. So, exactly. So she's found a smaller CTV in the house. So, and therefore, I keep telling my wife, we are now having a 55-inch mobile phone in the house. We better be careful. That's my view of the CTV. The day is not far when you'll probably call your TV and say, hey, make a video call to my friend in the US. And it will very soon do that. So you'll probably start using your 55-inch TV as the next mobile in your house. Keep a mobile away. The only thing that the marketers are afraid of is, what? You guys have seen the latest ad on Star Sports that says, is IPL season Star Sports se hatna mana hai. They also realize that when you watch the TV, you go and dabble with your phone when there is a strategic timeout. They don't want you to do that. They want you to get glued onto the screens. That's exactly what the CTV will probably do in the days to come. Now, and the other big point, to the point where this growth has come, I generally call the Indian economy as an 8% economy. Our GDP is 8%. If you look at the car ownership, it's about 8 to 10% households. If you look at the income tax filers, people like you and me, 8 to 10% people file taxes. It's a different issue that only 1 or 2% actually pay taxes, but 8 to 10% pay. So there's 8 to 10% everywhere. Broadband penetration is also 8 to 10%. Right? That is roughly the number that they talked about, right? 30 to 40 million households, roughly about, let's say, broadband access. Therefore, if you take a 3-member family or a 4-member, it's about 150 million people in India. Whereas if you take if you take the mobile penetration, it's about 500, 600 million. Just imagine a situation where this 500 million is actually broadband and not your mobile internet. That's the scope of CTV in India. And the reason why it's been growing so far is all the factors that these people said and the rising the affluence that is there in India. So I was in a recent panel discussion in another forum, and Nilesh Shah, who is one of the leading investors in India, he had come down and said, "Agar Bhagwan upar hai, to wo to Indian hai." Because the Indian story is intact for the next 20 years. So CTV story is very intact, right? And the single biggest thing, therefore, the marketers, to the specific question Shrutapa asked, is, I think what Suman beautifully said, right? How do we measure it? Today, the challenge with me as a marketer, we've done a lot of campaigns for our brands, Johnny Walkers. You guys come from different places, but in the evening, you'll come to us always, I'm sure, right? So Johnny Walker is one of our brands. So we've done a lot of campaigns with Johnny on FIFA, on World Cup, and all of them. Brilliant impact. We've done a dipstick, and CTV gives brilliant impact. But the question, again, Meeta also said, how do we differentiate between who am I reaching on YouTube versus who am I reaching on CTV? What is the attribution? A top funnel is brilliant. Does it go beyond that? What is the brand positioning that I establish? So those are questions that you need to think very carefully. Therefore, from a budgeting standpoint, it's horses for courses, Shrutapa, largely. Right? In our portfolio, when we look at the luxury and the premium ones, CTV comes forefront in terms of the planning. Whereas if you look at some of our masstige brands, which is Royal Challenge, the McDonald's of the world, we go TV out, digital out first before we go to CTV. So it's a lot of horses to courses, is what I think. And measurement, the more you involve your agency partners, think through them and ask them the right questions to say, how do I measure it right? That's the evolution, the next big evolution on CTV.
Very interesting, because I think a few of you all have brought up this point about measurement and transparency, credibility of the metadata. Anil, coming to you, any thoughts on that, where you feel that what progress has the industry made in addressing this issue of measuring performance?
So, there are a lot of solutions coming up. Google has recently come up with this solution called PAIR, Publisher Advertiser Identity Reconciliation. That is something like which has been adopted. So it is set to see the light of the day in India so much. So, but that doesn't only help in identifying and making sure that we are reaching to the right audience. And most of the times in the connected TV, it will be logged on users. So we'll be able to identify. So not all the time, at least more than 60% of the time, we'll be able to identify whom we are reaching out to. And again, one person has got at least 4 to 5 devices. He will be connected in the 4 to 5 devices. That is also becoming a challenge. So there are challenges right now. As we said, as I said earlier, there are solutions also that has to be adopted very promptly. So there have been a lot of frauds also. People are telling that this is premium, and it may not be premium. It might be tied to a kind of inventory. And we end up paying premium for that one. So we have no way of knowing it at this point of time. Likes of IAS or TV, so they have found a way, and there have been reports that they have found out around 70 million ad frauds in this arena, and they have reported it. But I'm sure there are multi-folds to that. It doesn't only stop at 70 million, it's much more than that. So the measurement is a big challenge for now. And the improvement is also happening. I'm sure it will be in the coming years, and we are seeing the numbers growing. So it's doubling as we speak, and also everyone else, Disney and Hulu have already adopted this pair. So that can be one of the a positive sign which we can see that we can look into and see how the measurement can improve in this way.
If anybody else, any other panelist has a perspective on the measurement aspect?
So I'll add, we just finished, we are in the middle of a campaign, but from a point of view of saying the measurement, the user gets identified with their login, of course. And we've seen numbers not only being reported for metros, but tier ones, but it's a very clear identification. We know there are 18 million of people who have watched. These are unique. How many times they have watched, what is the time period they've watched the content for. Right now, with that kind of information, we are good. Yeah. Going forward, if I want to, I say for instance, if I'm a fashion brand, I want to sell what I'm wearing, it might become a point in contention. But I think still those QR codes, because I have a habit of scanning the QR code to log in into that account. So I can still do that QR code if required. But apart from that, at a top funnel level, we feel the data is correct.
Okay. Yes, Suman, you want to add something?
Just another point of view, because from a Wipro consumer perspective, more than national, we are more regional brand. So for us, when we plan individual state as one market for us from a consumer perspective, from a sales perspective. That's the way we look at it. We never plan a pan-India. There is never a pan-India campaign. There is always a 6 states, 8 states, 12 states sort of a plan. So when we do that, it is very easy to sort of get a measurability on our mobile devices, because that's an individual device, that's a solo device. The moment we go to a CTV, and especially if I just take an example of a state like Kerala, and Kerala is again a very important market from a Chandrika perspective, from from Santur perspective, and there are many more brands in Chauntier and all of this, right? So while Chandrika is very mass brand, but when the moment we look at Enchanter, which is a very premium brand, the look and feel, the brand proposition, everything is very premium, and we wanted to take CTV. But the moment we look at that, what is the audience available in Kerala, and especially in the female, in the CTV audience, we don't find any. So it's very difficult to do a scale up of the campaign. So again, because like Ashish rightly mentioned that there is a the person who is logged in, but there may be 3 more people who are watching the same content sitting at home. That's a TV viewing. But measurability and the scaling up, both the things are really important when we look at any platform, any media choices from deployment perspective.
All right, so just hold on. I want to ask you something else, and this is a question which I'd like a few of you all to answer. At least, I mean, as per reports, an average streamer spends about 8 hours a week on CTV, right? And obviously, the well-known adage, content is king and queen, right? We must say queen also. So content is king and queen. Storytelling, techniques, the kind of audiences that are consuming content, the creative strategies that should go into it. All of you all who come from corporates and brands especially, and Meeta, you have your perspective, overarching perspective. I'd love to understand, as a content person myself, that where do you see, which are the audience segments that are working, which are the storytelling techniques that are working? So everybody, if you all can just chime in.
Can I?
Yes, please start.
I think that's a great question. And content is king and queen. I love it. We should be diverse. Right? Love that. Love the perspective. But let me tell you this one data point. There's a research that's done by ARF, which is the Global Advertiser Research Foundation. It was done about 6-7 years ago. It's a very and this doesn't matter where the medium is. This is independent of the medium. You put content and advertising, and if the advertising theme or the ethos is very similar to the content, the ROI is 4x than if you just put an ad randomly in anything. So let's say you're putting for example, let's take FIFA, right? And you're putting a product that's Red Bull for the sake of it, right? Red Bull is all about energy, fun, sports and all that. And then the content is right next to a FIFA where there's a high scoring goal, a beautiful goal that's come in, and then Red Bull comes in. I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. The ROI is supposed to be 3.5 to 4x of the usual things. That's the power of the combination to the point Shilpa I just made in terms of saying, how do I ensure that my proposition is next to the content that is in line with what I'm talking to my consumers? And that's the single biggest unlock that we can all as marketers do justice to our brands. Look for content that talks to, historically and in Bollywood has been great at this, right? They pick up products and integrate with movies so beautifully that people don't think that this is actually a product placement. It's so integral. We've seen that happening in movies and in serials and all that, right? Beautiful product integrations. That's simply because the product sits there as good as how the allied content is. That's one perspective that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Because Urban just mentioned about being contextual. But the other part of the equation can be you build the entire content as the ad, just like you're saying. So we just did the same. And for us, we've been using CTVs just to showcase the content. So we're doing the listings, and it's an informational content that is viewable, of course. And if it is not, then no point putting all that effort. But touchwood, crossed 110 million views in 4 weeks. 7.5 minutes of viewing time, that's approximately 75% of the entire content. And everyone is seeing almost a little over than 2 episodes out of a 10 episode. And all our markets, basically, which we wanted to perform. Imagine we are there in tier 2s as well. So our Ahmedabad is working well, our Raipurs are working well, where you are having significant views, like a 3 million, 4 million, which usually is unseen if you are not doing a print ad. So that's working for us.
So Meeta, your perspective, overarching, where are you seeing creative strategies heading?
So like Arvind very rightfully mentioned, that having a context to where you are exposing your ads is very, very important. It's far more becoming crucial for an advertiser. But at the same time, I think what we also have to focus on the publisher ecosystem here, especially when we're talking about connected TV. As it is becoming more authenticated, more opt-in user is there on connected TV, we also have to focus on building a ecosystem where they're able to pass on more signals about the content. Now, once they are able to do that, because they're already sitting on a very enriched first-party data, with the logged-in audiences, the moment they will start sending in more content signals, that gives the advertiser a lot of value, because now they're able to know who their user is, how they are engaging, and then build their creative strategies accordingly. So for few content, long form, maybe, like sorry, like Ashish mentioned, you know, like they build up mini series to promote their content. So there are various ways of, you know, how do you tell your storytelling. It can be engaging on a CTV, going for a long format of a 20-second or 25-second, whereas you build up more of for a short form when you're leveraging other channels.
And I think this is also really picking up because a few years ago, you know, you had the likes of TVF and all that doing it on YouTube
Yes.
and then pushing it. And then, you know, we see that the entire creative strategy, now we see it play out on CTV as well. Suman, any case studies that you could tell us or how you all have leveraged a creative strategy? Because I think while we're talking, you know, a lot of industry stuff, it would be nice to know something a little more detailed on the creative side.
Sure, absolutely. So, from a FMCG brand perspective, CTV is relatively new because obviously for us, the first thing is how I can maximize my reach, right? So that is the first thing because it's a more volume-driven product rather a value-driven product, right? So from that perspective, but the way we use, for example, we have been using for brands like Yardley, Enchanter, and even Santoor we have the premium variants. So one is obviously there are different formats like a QR code, right, for shopping, so which can directly move you to Amazon or for in our page as well. That goes there and you can shop from there. That is one. Then there are long form content. So for example, since we are talking about a linear TV versus a connected TV, if I run a 30-seconder, I play on a Star Plus, I'll pay a bomb, versus if I the same thing I play a 2-minuter in a Hotstar, for example, in a CTV format, I won't pay that much, right? So, and the second thing is TV as a viewership habits. People know that if there is an ad, because it's been instilled in our mind from our childhood that TV mein to ad aayega hi. I mean, you have to see. There is no option of skip. You watch that, and when you create that customized content, long form content, ads which are not like an ad but more like a content, how do you create the product there, what a fragrance means to you, how it can create confidence in you, all of this brand proposition when you build in, that's what helps for the brand, for the consumer to know it better, rather than just a 30-second product at saying, okay, this is the product, this is the price point, just go and take a 10% off and buy it, right? That won't fly with today's generation. So that is one. Second is from a long form content, and we are exploring right now is the branded content. So for example, if there's a branded content that is available from a brand perspective, because for example, Santoor as a brand is well known, right? It's a 90% top of mind, and everybody knows about Santoor, whether they use or not. So there is nothing more you can do to increase your TOM, and it's very difficult to sort of increase the top of mind there. But when you can create the relevancy, because now today's date there are multiple brands. There is a category like shower gel which is completely created and saying that don't use soap and get a shower gel because shower gel is more premium. So the premiumization story is there in entire India right now, because all the premium categories growing right now. So what we are creating is, from a branded content perspective, we are integrating the relevance of the product. That why the product is relevant for you, and why it is not like soap is not a like fuddy-duddy brand. The category is like 10 years back somebody was using, and now you have to move out of the category. So that is something that we are creating. We are trying to make it more into CTV, because CTV is giving you more immersive experience, and not on mobile, which is more an on the go sort of a content. That's the difference. That's what I'm trying to do.
Anil, any perspective?
Yep. So most of it is covered. Anyway, I just want to add one thing here. So as he rightly said, like mobile viewing and connected TV viewing is completely different. So that comes to the fact that YouTube has recently launched a non-skippable version of up to 30-second connected TV, which is not there in the mobile or any other devices. That shows that the longer format actually works in connected TV. When you devise any content strategy, creative strategy to run your media campaigns, that has to be kept in mind, and it has to be there are other ways of using a QR code or TV things to continue that journey outside as well. But if you can tell the complete story within that 30-second or long format, that itself is gives a good enough upper funnel traction there.
Well, very interesting perspectives. I mean, again, I don't really come from this segment, but I am a consumer of CTV, and I know that as a person who subscribes to most of the OTT platforms, I have the scope of skipping through, or rather not looking at ads at all. So obviously there is a large audience who don't pay subscriptions, who don't want to pay subscriptions, and they will consume the ads. How would all of you, quickly if you can say, how do you target, say, a consumer like me who pays all the subscriptions and doesn't have patience for any ads? Googly question. Tha nahi yahan pe, huh?
I think we should not disturb you. You've made it very clear. So it's I think let's start with this. I think it's very important. There is enough a cohort, and there is no shortage of demand. If there is a viewer, don't get into them and have a D&D kind of a list as a brand. But just coming out, there are more than enough. You are searching. Absolutely, you are searching. There is no way. Whatever you're talking, Facebook is listening, so we can do that. Moreover, there are more than enough ways of doing it. But I think if it comes to me and I'm the brand advertiser, I'm the one who's making the plan, I'll say, touch me not. Keep it away.
I just want to add one point there. I mean, absolutely. So to all the marketing that we do, one of the most important premises that we go with is what just Ashish said. Respect the privacy. अगर किसी को ad नहीं देखना है, if you really said no, I don't want to look at this ad, because especially I come from an alcobev category, and we're very particular about saying, if somebody has consented or not consented and said, I don't want to look at a alcobev related ad. It doesn't need to be a product. It can be a product extension like a ginger ale or something. We're very particular about that, so don't disturb. Having said that, Shutapa, we as marketers cannot, thoda to kida rehta hai. So we try to work around that. The best thing again I think is, if you tell stories, I think a couple of panelists also made that point. If you tell the story in the context of the brand and seamlessly integrate it, so maybe product integration in a cinema or a product integration in a show. And that's why I think Ashish made a great point saying he's become content creator now. He's no longer a marketer, right? So if that's a lot of forward integration, right? I mean, we rely on agencies to create content and we place the ads there. Now, how about changing that role and saying, no, I'll create content for my consumers. And by the way, brand is very incidental to me, right? And that's exactly what Ashish has just done. I mean, he's not done branding. He's done content creation. And incidentally, the brand sits there wherever it sits. That's the only way to reach you.
And it's true. Yeah, it does reach me.
So there are like, other premium shows like an IPL, the World Cup, this thing. There's no way you can escape that. Advertising will be there.
I don't watch sports. But I must say that I totally agree that having good content, having compelling narratives, stories which are not, which are on CTV, but they're not really selling a brand, but then you have that brand association, you have that, it is subconsciously getting ingrained. So storytelling, coming back to our previous point, is obviously going to be very important. Meeta, coming to you, how do you see CTV kind of integrating into this whole omni-channel marketing plan? If you can tell us a bit about that.
So like, as I previously spoke about breaking the silos, I think that's where CTV plays an important role in being the part of the omni-channel journey. If you, and today a user is very fragmented, right? Our journey is very fragmented. Like you rightfully mentioned right now, you don't watch, any of the unsubscribed content on CTV. But in the open internet, there's so many multiple touch points for you. You might be streaming music, you might be reading up an article or a news, right? And then the way we kind of integrated in the entire journey is able to identify our audience across multiple platforms. And that's the key point when we build this omni-channel journey of a user, which more and more marketers are now leveraging. And it is very, very essential because then you keep duplicating your reach across multiple platforms. It's kind of, it reaches your, a certain threshold of the ad exposure. So it's, after a certain point in time, it's a wastage, media wastage for any marketer. To really build a holistic omni-channel journey is to go for an audience-first approach and not a channel-first approach. And that's how you build in more efficiency and effectiveness in your media strategy.
I think you should just take away where this person is going as an information of channel to anyone who's doing the planning and just let them know that this is the audience, just go behind it.
Yes.
And the journey.
Absolutely. I think that's a very fair way of putting it, that you go after the audience. That's where you are targeting. So let's come to next couple of questions on ads, right? On actual ads. And we see Finecast Group M report saying that in the next by 2027, around $347 million will be spent on CTV ads. However, the experience itself is yet to get there, right? The experience of how the ads actually look. So how do we make the ads more seamless? How do they fit into the viewer's experience? So any thoughts on that? Would you like to go, Arvind?
I think it again comes back to the point that I made and a few of others made, that it has to be horses for courses. You can't treat CTV like another mobile and say, "मैं ad place कर दूंगा." And hopefully I'll reach out to the audience, right? There has to be a lot of thought that has to be given, and I think one of the points was mentioned was, if YouTube can see through and say, I can give 30 seconds of non-skippable, which really means that's the stickiness of this platform. So people are ready to watch the ad for 30 seconds non-skippable. So the tendency is there, the propensity is there. Now the question then is, do you bore them with your any other 30-seconder ad that you probably put on the mobile or put on any other platform, and it's an open internet platform for a 10-seconder, or do you really create content that is worthy of the CTV? That's point number one. Point number two is the point, again, I think Ashish said, where is the audience? And Meeta also mentioned it, right? Who is the audience? Do I need to put my audience first and the content first there to say, is this the right channel for me? Maybe for some of the brands, CTV is not the channel. So don't even think of that. So the question is, are we making the right choice from an audience standpoint and a content standpoint? And therefore, channel comes next. Is that the right channel? Is all about reaching out in the context of where the consumers are viewing. And remember, if you reach one household, you're reaching 3 to 4 people simultaneously. So is your brand more embedded in a socializing occasion where family members sit together and enjoy the moment? That's probably the context that you want to put in. You know, so those are things that you need to think through before the consumption occasion. Who is the target audience? Am I creating enough excitement around the occasion where I need this brand to be embedded? And therefore, is this the right channel to choose? I think those are the guardrails that need to go in.
Right. Ashish, we also see a lot of interactive and shoppable ads. Do you see that as a trend picking up on CTV? What do you see there?
See, the technology is already there. Now I can identify who's the actor or actress. So that means the technology already exists. Now if I have to blurb it up in terms of saying what am I wearing, what I can sell out of it, or the car that I saw that they were driving, I can pause and I want to buy it. That's, of course, should be a natural future of it. Mintas of the world are already doing it on their own app. Now, if they look at this as an extension onto how they want to sell it on that platform, I think it still needs to gain that traction. It will be a lot nascent right now, but shouldn't rush to it. But yeah, the moment somebody cracks it well, you will see everyone going. So it might not be a story of 3 years. Somebody somewhere is sitting and thinking about it.
Suman, are you all thinking about it in Wipro? Or maybe after this session?
Yeah, so for us, it is primarily, driving the awareness. So it is always the, funnel from top to down. So obviously we are not, sort of very desperate to sell the products because the products is already out in the market and we are, most of the places we are number one. So the only thing that we are trying to do is, like I mentioned earlier, is making it relevant. I mean, whichever category that you pick it up, because the FMCG is so cluttered today's date, with Reliance moving in, there are so many brands that have moved into, the regional new players have started with lower price point. So the fight is not about who is selling the lowest or who is selling it immediately. The price is, am I able to hold the consumer for me in my portfolio? So that is what we are trying to do. So, for example, if somebody is today decide that, no, I'll move out of the soap category, there is a shower gel which is already waiting for it, within the Santur portfolio. So it is not that something I need to sell it hard enough, but it is something I should be there when he or she thinking about my brand. So that is what the space would be doing for me.
Anil, any perspective on this?
There have been many failed experiments in that aspect, like Ashish said that.
Tell us about a failed experiment.
Yeah. So there are so many advertisers have come, brands have come, and they said this feature is there, why don't we try it? But the fact is that it is right now only for upper funnel, right? We are trying to drive awareness. And when we look at omni-channel planning, so we look at as a video planning. So when we look at video, so it is mainly for awareness and the consideration. There have been instances we used it for in driving the performance as well. But connected TV is not there yet. So we don't have the scale yet. So once we get there, probably.
I think, yeah, I just want to add over here. With connected TV, somewhere we have to resist the urge to, measure it on click-through conversion. Because if we look at it, primarily the platform is built for more view-through measurement and not click-through. And and we have some data points around it. Like we have globally done a research where it shows that if an user has been exposed to a CTV ad, all right, for that user you have to spend 50% lesser impressions, for the user to then eventually visit a brand page and do some engagement there. So that eventually is bringing down your investment because it's giving you media savings. You can then deploy it to reach out to newer audience there. So it's more about resisting it in some aspects of measurement.
Quality and brand recall is far higher through CTV ads. So we're coming towards the end of our conversation. Our last question for all of you, final thoughts, and what do you think is the improvement or innovation, the final improvement and innovation in CTV that we should see in 2024? Who would like to start? Anil? Yeah.
Measurement and also brand safety. So be it IAS or DV360, they are there. So but they can't provide the brand safety what they could provide on the mobile or any other devices right now. The measurement still weak. So there have been progress, but we still have to go a long way in that one. Those are the two things I would like to see that happening in this year.
Suman?
So I think 3 areas largely. So one is enhanced targeting and personalization, because we all spoke about that, and that is what probably as a consumer also we experience on CTV. That is the first thing, need to be more enhanced, so that there is a data analytics capabilities already there with the publishers. How we can use that more more better to define our target algorithms, so that we can target them better, right? So that is one area. The second area is, like I spoke about, branded content and sponsorship. So branded content, for example, if I look at a linear TV, the AFP is, the brands have done enough AFP, which is advertising funded program, for a long time on linear TV, right? And that's a format that has been created because people are interested to watch that. Can we create a branded content maybe in a not so much longer format, maybe a mini series, but that can help, like Ashish beautifully said, that is working for him, right? From a relevance perspective, from a brand consideration perspective. So that is the second area. And the third area is obviously, the surety of the, making out the ad frauds and brand safety and those measurability, which is like, we are clear that the content that is going there is right for the audience. Because for TV, we often get the, the Aston saying that, there's a try. If you are not okay with the content, you can always go back to try. On the digital platform, there is nothing like a, try body who says that, if you don't like the content, you go back and, report to us, right? So that is something that probably, improvement area I'm looking at.
Isn't that a little bit of a Pandora's box, though? Getting more involvement of I mean, that's not the topic here, but,
I'm just saying a regulation sort of a thing.
It's a separate panel. Ashish, your thoughts on what innovations, especially, would you like to see this year?
No, so what happened to YouTube and what happened to a lot of streaming players is, at least from an Indian market point of view, I can say that we will make sure that this takes the performance route, and I will see what ROI it brings. So that's the innovation I think it's going to get. It's the due course. It will definitely happen because we're not going to stop asking the question.
Right. So, imminent change. Meeta, your thoughts?
I think for me, I would say to get the most out of this channel, stop the silos buying, more of consolidation, and take the audience first approach. And not just, because CTV is growing, so everybody has to be in that space. So maybe go for that approach, audience first.
Right. Last thoughts, Arvind?
So I think, brand safety and measurements are bang on. I would just build on the measurement part to say, to the point Meeta made earlier, how do I create an omni-channel journey that includes connected TV and not just take channel TV as a channel? So I think it will evolve there, and obviously it includes the ROI measurement, it includes what Ashish also just said. So it's not, the day is not very far when I say, if I do retargeting, I know they go to Meta, they go to YouTube. They'll simply say, I know they'll also be on CTV, so I know what to do there. So that whole journey mapping and that entire touch point of saying, if I'm on YouTube and next day I'm on CTV, I'm able to target you, that seamless kind of journey mapping, that's very soon. I'm sure it'll happen, but that's the next innovation.
Amazing. So thank you so much, speakers. Any questions from our audience?